Typically, I don't really agree with doctors, but this time, I might. Welcome everyone, welcome to my very humble channel. Now let's get right on to it. People are always asking me in my comments section, so what kind of education do you have? Are you a doctor? And I am so thankful that I'm not, because I'm not being taught by an institution that tells you that bread is healthy for you. And with that said, doctors often get just a few weeks of nutritional education. And that's nothing. Food is medicine. So if you're not taught that, how are you going to heal the body? Just by manifesting it? Now, I was going through videos of a lot of doctors, and there's one doctor who's been around the whole time I've been around, and that's Dr. Westman. He has been solid on his ketogenic journey, teaching the ketogenic diet the whole time. I mean, most of the stuff I agree with, but some stuff I feel that is maybe not as detailed as I prefer to be when it comes to educating my audience, but they also come with really great nuggets of information, or him in this case. He is reviewing two other doctors, cardiologists, out of Canada. They're going over the carnivore diet, and he's breaking it down, and I'm going to break down his breakdown of them, because I think I might mostly agree. So let's get this video started.
Hi, this is Dr. Eric Westerman. Carnivore Diet, another video, really? But the carnivore diet is pretty popular, and I'm going to review a video from Talking with Docs. Now, if you don't have my top 10 tips to start keto right, be sure to look in the description below. Now, of course, you always want to consider the source of information when you're looking at a YouTube video or article in the newspaper. Of course, do you have newspapers anymore? Talking with the Docs, these are two medical professionals. When I go to their information, they're orthopedic surgeons in Canada. And so
I gotta say, these guys, these two orthopedic doctors, are showing up all the time on Instagram feeds and probably TikTok, which I will not join. Thank you very much. And they're getting kind of popular, and they're such friggin' tools. I cannot. But let's continue.
Like most doctors, they probably didn't get much training in nutrition. I mean, that's true for me. I was trained initially as an internal medicine specialist, then got special training in obesity medicine. But, you know, anyone can be an expert on diets, right?
So let's just point out that right there. He said that everyone can be an expert on diets, because he knows for certain that as a medically trained doctor, he's not learning what he needs to learn. And of course, he learned it on his own, but not in institutions. So when people ask me, what institution have I been to? Good luck with your failing health. Unless you're an orthopedic doctor, but good luck. Because even if you do have some type of stent put in your heart, you're not addressing the original problem that got you there. But let's continue listening to what Dr. Westman is saying, because I mostly agree.
But let's see what they say about the carnivore diet from Talking with Docs.
Carnivore diet, time for me to start it.
Wait, what?
Not just joking. What we are talking about today is this carnivore diet that is very popular and has a bunch of issues with it that honestly is going to create a lot of controversy, because these people are very passionate.
I think anyone who has an extreme diet is passionate.
100%.
I know I hate when people stop videos, but I can't. Okay. Both of these guys, I'd say the guy on the left is probably my age. The guy on the right's a little younger. They don't look extremely healthy to me, especially the one on the left. So it's really funny how people are watching their videos for advice they're cardiologists. They don't know what they're talking about. They make some points on carnivore, but the information is coming from nowhere. Let's continue.
If you like carnivore,
Keto, vegan,
yeah.
whatever, you name it.
Well, so they certainly give the image of being doctors, surgeons, which they are, talking about balanced diets being great and nobody exclaims about them. Well, maybe that's because people find the more extreme diets to actually be better for them. I don't know. Let's keep going.
Right.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning of this diet. What is the carnivore diet?
Carnivore diet consists of eating animal products primarily, if not only.
Yeah, so the strictest form is truly only animal products.
That's right.
So that means no plants, no fruits, no vegetables, no nuts, no seeds, nothing. Just animal products.
Okay.
It seems like a good idea.
Seems obvious that it's not a good idea. I mean, I spent so many years telling my
Okay, so I'm getting the sidekick here. One's the straight man, one's the sarcastic man, and so they don't think it's a good idea to not eat plants. Well, that occurred to me as well. Of course, what I've been teaching at Duke University for years is a almost carnivore diet, a carnivore-like diet. The vegetable.
And here's where I agree with him. People say to me, but you're doing a carnivore diet. And I'm like, nah, not really. When I describe what I eat in a day, I don't really eat a lot of plants. But if I do, I do. But mostly I eat mostly animal fat, then meat. Of course, the avocado, but that's not carnivore.
Vegetables and leafy greens are recommended, but they're pretty limited. And I don't go to extremes to limit eggs and coffee. And Wolf doesn't drink coffee.
So that's where we differ. I will never push coffee, especially this is pesticide laden Roundup, friggin' floods your adenosine receptor sites with cortisol, and it's acidic and it jacks your microbiome. And I mean, there's a million things. Of course, fracks up your adrenals. But let's continue. So that's why I said mostly and not all.
Some zealotous carnivore, there's a whole, the lion diet and all these different subgroups. But I think the main point here is that you can actually have a nutritious intake of vitamins and minerals and nutrients without eating plants. And of course, they're very dismissive of that, as if, everyone knows you have to have plants. And being curious about that, I asked one of my friends and colleagues to write a paper about whether you could get all of the nutrition you need from a carnivore diet, and it actually looked okay. And you might see my prior videos about carnivore, and there are some question marks, but if you're monitoring your health, I think the distraction or detraction that it can't provide all the nutrients is just not true. No evidence for that.
Okay, so I have to stop right there and say that he is correct when it comes to nutrients. Yes, he's very, very correct because of the organ meats. The organ meats, seafood are packed, and I mean loaded with amazing nutrition that cover everything that you get in plants, including vitamin C, your B complex, of course, your vitamin D, E, A, and K, your minerals in seafood, minerals in liver. Yeah, you are, in fact, people, you're getting more of your micronutrients from animals than plants a million times over. So, of course, he is correct. There's no evidence that you do not get the nutrition. Now, here's what is sort of daunting, is that the level of potassium that we are getting is a bit low. Now, you can get it in seafood, but our food is literally poisoned. Our seas are poisoned, which is why I eat an avocado, because it's packed with potassium. But there is potassium in animals. There's in the meat, in the organs, in seafood, in animals. Non-plant living creatures have potassium, just unfortunately not enough. And then, of course, our soils are depleted. So the biggest problem is that animals today are not getting enough potassium, magnesium from what they're grazing on, which means that we're not getting enough. So that is where magnesium is really the main supplement I'm concerned about when doing a keto or carnivore diet, especially when it comes to your electrolytes. Now, the one caveat that I'm concerned about by being completely carnivorous is the fiber, not to poop, but to balance the microbiome. And I think a lot of these smart people, like maybe Dr. Westman, he's not thinking in terms of diamine oxidase and the balance of microbiome. But let's continue with the points that I do agree on.
My kids to eat their vegetables. I
Right.
never thought I'd have to say it again now that
Right.
they're grown up and they have kind of good.
Well, that's interesting. Why don't children want to eat vegetables? Maybe they shouldn't. I mean, now that only comes to me because I've met some patients, some not my family, but others' family, and people coming to me who actually did have problems with eating vegetables and got better when they didn't eat them. You know, maybe we should follow the lead of what children naturally want to eat. Well,
okay, so the only problem with that is that a lot of people speak generally. So plants have a lot of anti-nutrients in them, like salicylates and oxalates and goitrogens and nightshades, lectins, saponins, tannins, gluten, nightshades, tannins in teas, nightshades in your common rooted vegetables and your potato and your tomatoes and things of this nature. And then we have the gluten that's in bread. We have the nightshades that are in the cruciferous vegetables. We have the oxalates in spinach and avocado. So are we best without plants? Not necessarily, because we're supposed to be eating plants seasonally. So if you are eating plants with, like, let's say wild spinach high in oxalic acid and oxalates, we would purge out the oxalates during the dormant phase of the plant when it's not growing and we're not eating it, but we are getting a lot of our food 365 days out of the year from other countries, like in the US, from Mexico and such. So we never go through a phase of stop, getting rid of some of the anti-nutrients or something as simple as the oxalate buildup. We don't give our bodies a break. So in that context, that's a fly by the way. If you are a child and you don't like vegetables, there's also the complete bastardization of crossbreeding them. We are selectively breeding. We are genetically modifying these plants. There's that too. Let's continue.
well, maybe not the sugar, the refined sugar, but if a child doesn't want vegetables, maybe you shouldn't force them to eat it. I don't know that that'll cross their minds here, but
Eating habits, but here we are.
Right. So there are some wild animals and other animals that are obligate carnivores. We are not them. So the thought behind this diet is
well, and that's even controversial or
I don't think
up
so.
for
I think
discussion,
you're right.
whether a human needs to be herbivore. I think that's pretty true that it's not necessary for a human to be an herbivore. The consensus, I think, is that a human can be an omnivore, meaning
Yes.
you can eat animal products and vegetable products or the combination thereof. But I am wanting, the best health, so that if a more of a carnivorous diet would give me better health, that would be one reason why I would think it'd be a good idea.
He said mostly carnivore, more of a carnivore diet. That's what he said. He didn't say strict carnivore. So there's nuances, people. You got to read between the lines.
Just because we've eaten a certain way in the past doesn't mean that's the way we should eat in the future. So I'm not beholden to the noble savage idea, noble hunter-gatherer, and that everyone, we should eat like our ancestor way back did. Maybe we could even do better in terms of nutrients. This is interesting.
I think he's right. We can do better because hunter-gatherers were always dealing with feast or famine, and when you're not being able to, when things aren't growing or there's no animals to eat around for whatever reason, then fires or droughts or whatever it is, you're going to have to go and look for food. So sometimes they were nutrient deficient because they couldn't get the food that they needed. But if they were able to get the food they needed, they were perfect guts, like just connected with nature, feet in the soil. But we can do better as modern humans. That part I agree with.
Remember, most doctors, including me many years ago, got no training in nutrition. I think what you're seeing here is orthopedic surgeons, specialists doing the best they can with the information that is generally obtained in pop culture, meaning, keto and vegan are extreme and carnivore is extreme, when actually from a nutrient standpoint, it's not all that extreme. The typical Canadian diet or American diet is really bizarre when you think of it in terms of how long we've been having available foods that are really not foods anymore. Let's keep.
He's 100% correct. People think, and I've thought this the whole time, people think that a keto or carnivore diet is so extreme, and it's the complete opposite. You're just eating real food, where all the packaged garbage that is normalized is sickening. The woman I had a consultation with today, I was like, where do you get your bacon from? And she's like, from the supermarket. I said, read on the back. And there was all of these really awful, terrible chemicals that are cancer causing in this bacon. But that is not seen as extreme. It's completely upside down world.
Keep going.
Talking about our ancestors way back, who knows even how many 10,000 or whatever million years ago that you think, how they ate high fat, high protein diets. And some fossil studies have shown that maybe this is true, but other studies have clearly shown they actually did eat a fair number of plants. So, but what it means,
we never overlapped with the dinosaurs.
What it means.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Have you guys ever watched that show Naked and Afraid, where they're in Africa? Like, there's nothing to eat. They are hunting animals. That's their primary source of nutrition. This is hilarious. And yeah, we didn't spawn up in Central and South America. I can't with it.
Is that these people did not have food security. So when you found an animal or you happened to kill an animal by hunting, you ate as much as you could because you didn't know when your next meal was coming. Mm-hmm. And usually what was available were animals. There was not regular farming. There were not industrialized farm practices. There were not stores where you go buy food. Like nowadays, we have unlimited access to food. So this is one of the arguments that, hey, our ancestors do it, maybe we should do it.
The modern day carnivore,
yes,
is drawn to the carnivore diet, right, because they may have seen some immediate results of, hey, this is really working. Right. I'm losing weight. I'm trying this carnivore diet. I'm feeling good and I'm losing weight. Why is that?
Okay, so yeah, definitely it's popular with the gym bros and the gym bro science and people really trying to.
Did you fall on your head? Gym bro science guys aren't into carnivore. They're into carbs, nuck. What are you talking about? See, that's when they're, look at this dude on the left, looking as unhealthy and no, I can't wait. Let's continue.
Increase their muscle mass because of the protein count. The reason that it has potential to help early on is for a bunch of reasons. So one, when you eat a diet that's very restrictive, regardless of what it is, chances are your calories are going to go down. So
elimination, you're eliminating other foods.
So if I eat a high-fat ketogenic diet, am I limiting my calories? And people question me where I get my education from because I don't sit around wearing scrubs and a green hat, surgical cap. It's embarrassing. I can't with it.
Yes, you reduce the calories, so this can show weight benefits. But when you eliminate these other foods, you're eliminating a whole bunch of things. You're eliminating anything from a box, which we would say you should do anyway. So highly processed foods. You're eliminating highly refined grains. You're eliminating sugary snacks as well as drinks. So these things we've talked about all the time.
Good things to eliminate.
They're good things to eliminate, and that might be part of why you feel better. The other thing is when you eliminate all those other things, you may have some things that you had subtle intolerances or potentially allergies to that you weren't aware of that now are removed. So you're like, oh, you know what? My stomach feels a little bit better. I'm a little bit less inflamed, whatever. There's a lot of potential benefits of these eliminations.
Yeah, well, they're spot on. The carnivore diet or a well-formulated keto diet won't have gluten. You don't have bread and pasta where gluten is, so it's gluten-free. You don't have the simple sugars, so it's what we call a FODMAP diet, meaning it's free of simple sugars. You may have heard that in the GI clinics, the gluten-free and FODMAP-free types of diets. It even eliminates, depending on how you do it, will eliminate artificial dyes and artificial sweeteners that can cause migraines and other problems. The popularization came out of very prominent people reversing their own medical illness.
Okay, we're good. We are good. Now that you've seen a doctor review 2 other doctors, and then you have a non-doctor review the doctor who's reviewing the 2 doctors, this is where sensibility comes into play. At the end of the day, Dr. Westman was making a lot of great points. To me, it's sort of like no big deal because it's just practical, normal information that everybody should comprehend and understand, that these 2 guys are like, well, you feel better because the inflammation's down, but I don't think it's a good diet. Right? Question mark. It may not be healthy because you don't have all the nutrients that you would have in plants. Well, prove it. There's no proof. That's why I don't understand when people question what I'm trying to express. They don't know. People guess. If I were to have MD on my video, title Stephanie, person MD, I would be up there in the gazillions, but because I'm an average person, people have a hard time being attracted to that. And plus my channel is all about be careful, be careful, be careful. It's sort of like a warning channel. These diets are great in context. Carnivore is great for the short term. Keto is great for the long term. But if you don't do it correctly, you can damage your heart, you can damage your thyroid, because you have to balance your electrolytes. You have to eat enough fat, right? You agitate the thyroid by not being in ketosis because you're eating too much protein, not enough fat. This also goes for the carnivore diet. So if you go back and look at a lot of my videos, you will see, be careful for all of these major things that go down, and it's pretty much everything. If you are not doing things correctly on a low carb, high fat, keto, omnivore, or carnivore diet, then you may not be getting enough magnesium. You're going to be losing a lot of fluid, being chronically dehydrated, and that can damage the body. In years and over time, it can damage the heart. People are also having issues with eating mono foods. So if they have leaky gut, sometimes it can exacerbate with on a carnivore diet, because that's a fly, because you're just eating mono foods. I'm eating red steak every day. So we've noticed people who've developed too high levels of iron, like Frank Tufano, where he had to go off of the ketogenic diet, way too high levels. He developed hemochromatosis, is where his iron levels are just through the roof and he can't eat the red meat like he used to. And so now he added carbs back. But there's probably more things going on with him that maybe not have been divulged. But at any rate, he cannot do a carnivore diet at this juncture without going to the Red Cross and bloodletting and, donating some blood. You also have problems with people who are using a lot of vitamin A, who've been on Accutane, or using retinol on the skin, or taking multivitamins. That's a fly. Yeah, I love that sound, but no. See, I got these zappers everywhere. If you're taking a multivitamin with keratin and it's got vitamin A, and it's high in vitamin D, and then all of a sudden you start to have problems with your liver, problems with your kidneys, problems with vitaminosis and vitamin A toxicity, because you're eating a lot of liver and then you're taking a multivitamin or you're doing retinol on the skin. Other than that, unless you have some autoimmune disorder, most people do really well having daily liver. It's only bare liver, which they have high levels of retinol to protect their eyes from being out there in the snow. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Westman, for sticking with your beliefs in a ketogenic diet. He's sort of defending carnivore, but he's actually ketogenic. And he's stuck with it all these years. He has not fallen off the wagon and moved from diet to diet like a lot of people went from pushing keto then to pushing carnivore. And he has stuck to his guns with the ketogenic diet, which is what I've done. And I tried carnivore. It horrible. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about diamine oxidase and N-methyltransferase and how fiber helps balance the gut microbiome. That's my problem with the carnivore diet, and the fact that people are eating too much protein, developing gout, and high uric acid levels, but you know, that's why I'm here, to help you guys. So I just want to commend him for sticking with it. And he's got a lot of points that I actually agree with. Definitely. Dr. Sivas is another one he's really on the cusp of a lot of great information. He can really articulate himself to break down why protein, come on, high protein is ridiculous, and how eating a low carb, ketogenic carnivore keto diet will not atrophy your pancreas. But that's a whole nother video to come. Thank you everyone for watching this video, joining my my wonderment of trying to, in my humble words, keep you guys healthy. It's very important to not follow a channel because they have MD next to their name. But this MD, I mostly agree with. Not everything, because you shouldn't be drinking coffee. But everything else he said was pretty spot on. So I appreciate him for that. And most doctors I don't agree with. Even the ones that are considering themselves carnivore, you know, even somebody like Paul Saladino, who I find incredibly intelligent, and he's made really good points. And I love his calling out of all of the toxins in foods these days. I see him all the time on Instagram. But the fruit stuff, it's a hard pass. And somebody like Ken Berry, who I also think is also an awesome person, he really pushes a very high protein diet. I think he's integrating more fat, but you know, the whole high protein and you can't poop thing, I can't go along with it. But they have nuggets of information. But here is where you get the best information, because I work hard. And if you guys want to learn more, go to stephanieperson.com. I am going to put this challenge out very soon. In fact, when I get done with this, I'm going to use my iPad. This is my iPad right here, old school iPad, and continue organizing everything. You can also follow me on Instagram at Stephanie Ketogenic. I am 55 going on 56. I've been doing this for 16 solid years. No coffee, no wine, no cheese, no nuts. I lied. Macadamia nuts, no other nuts, no sugar, no carbs, nothing sweet. And I've learned a lot. And it is possible to do this for a very long time. Would anybody be in ketosis as a hunter-gatherer all the time? No. And that's where Dr. Westman said, as a modern person doing these diets, maybe we can improve things. And I agree with that exponentially. My Facebook fan page is Stephanie the Business Person. Got some energy. I also have a course that is subscription based month to month, where I cover all 3 diets, because not one diet fits all, which is low carb, high fat, keto, omnivore, and carnivore. And I'm out. More to come. Yeah. Be good, people. Stay strong.